All right, welcome back to day 2. Yesterday, I gave you a brief introduction to the metabolism, your hormones, and helped you set some expectations for the next several days. So today, I want to start to get into the nitty-gritty of what you can start to do and what you can start to continue to become aware of in order to create change, not only in your body, but in your life. So yesterday we talked about how your metabolism's primary focus is safety, is keeping you safe. Regardless of how you actually feel in your body, regardless of what you see in the mirror, your metabolism is constantly seeking that balance, that homeostasis. And so the reality is sometimes that fatigue is a message from your metabolism through your hormones that we need to conserve energy and we need to slow down. Now, you may be saying, I have toddlers, I have a job, I have a life that I want to live, and I hear you. There are things that we can directly begin to shift and change in order to bring everything back into balance so that fatigue can be a thing of the past. We can learn to work with your metabolism and with your body, even with the fatigue, so that we can start to make meaningful, lasting change. So in short, your metabolism is speaking. It can be frustrating, but the quicker we start to understand that your metabolism is just actually trying to help you, trying to save you, trying to protect you, the more we can start to learn to work with it so that we can actually start to shift and make changes. We're not going to change anything if we're constantly battling against something that just prioritizes our safety. And so crash dieting, trying to eat less and exercise more, is just continuing to negatively impact your metabolism, your metabolic health, and your hormonal health. So I went over yesterday the issues with constantly dieting and how most of us spend way too much dieting and not enough time actually seeking to eat in balance so that we can balance our metabolism. And this is because there's a lot of conditioning, there's a lot of messaging, even potentially from your physician, that you need to lose the weight. You need to lose weight, and in order to do that, we have to eat less and exercise more. However, speaking of the fact that your metabolism wants to keep you safe, the primary way that it does that is adapting to the inputs that we're giving it. So I said yesterday, your metabolism is not a calculator. Your metabolism is a barometer, mostly for stress. And so it's continuously adapting to what we give it. It's adapting to your boss. It's adapting to your workout schedule. It's adapting to you having small children. It's adapting to the quality of food, the quantity of food, all of these things. That's a lot of work, right? And so when we're constantly pulling back food from our body, your metabolism says, okay, this is what's readily available to us to use for energy. So we're going to need to use energy more effectively and more efficiently. And so we're constantly putting ourselves in feast and famine. Let me explain the feast. So by constantly pulling the food back, restrictive dieting, crash dieting, fad dieting, doing these quick fix shakes, these medications and things like that that are supposed to help with our appetite or supposed to help us eat less so that we can actually lose the weight, are telling our metabolism that we just have less available to us. And so it doesn't understand, didn't get the iOS update is what I love to tell people. It doesn't understand that we are restricting back out of choice. It doesn't understand that we have gone away from the cavewoman days and we're not hunting and gathering our food. Our food is readily available to us. We are choosing to restrict our body from resources. And so it begins to adapt to that and doesn't understand that when we can no longer psychologically, emotionally, and physically withhold from that food, because we're still seeing the food, we still know it's there, we're still having the cravings, right? It's not like we're in a cave where we can't see anything, that we're actually going to eat the food anyway. So that puts us into feast, famine, feast, back and forth. And so 2 things when it comes to nutrition that are really incredibly stressful on your metabolism: eating too little and eating too much. And so it's really critical that we find the Goldilocks gap, the sweet spot for you. Here's the hard part. That's not sexy and it's not exciting, is to find that sweet spot for you. It starts in part by finding balance with your nutrition. Ooh, you didn't want me to say that. I know. I say that to so many women and they're like, but wait a minute, I just need to lose the weight and then I can worry about the balance. But it doesn't work that way. I have conversations on a day-to-day basis. Is it hormones or is it calories? What matters the most to get the results that I want? Here's the tricky part, because again, I talked yesterday about how the nutrition and fitness industry profits off of you being overwhelmed and confused, and therefore the bias and the polarization. It's not hormones or calories. It's not calories or macros. It's all of it together. It all matters. It matters. So the reality is you can potentially continue to withhold calories if you can keep it up for a sustained period of time, AKA not wanting to go out to eat, not wanting to have extra treats on the weekend, not wanting to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or a vacation or whatever. You might lose some weight there, but you're continuing to put your metabolism in a state of negative adaptation for positive adaptation that you seek, right? None of us want negative adaptation. We want a body that we're proud of. We want to feel confident. We want to put on cute clothes. We don't want the belly fat. We don't want to be tired. We don't want to have the night sweats and be waking up at night. We don't want the cravings. We want to enjoy the foods that we want to enjoy and look the way that we want to look. Have our cake and eat it too, right? Every single one of us wants that. And so you say, let me lose the weight and then I'm going to focus on the balance. I'm going to focus on my hormonal health then. I'm going to bring my metabolism back up then. And it just doesn't work that way. Because by continuing to diet, your metabolism's continuing to adapt, your hormones are continuing to downregulate. Anyone have a smartphone that goes into energy save mode and it starts to dim, right? Certain apps don't work, your camera won't work. All these different things are happening. That's exactly what your body is doing in order to keep you safe. This is how we have survived until this point. And so then we have these hormonal things. You start to have issues with your menstrual cycle if you're still menstruating. Your menopause symptoms are exacerbated. The fatigue, the brain fog, we're not able to focus, right? Cravings start to come around because we're still seeing the food. And your body's like, I need that. I want that so that I can function more optimally. And then we are left feeling like a failure because we don't have the willpower, we don't have the discipline, we just can't stick with it. And that is because you cannot bully your physiology or your psychology. You just can't. And so you're sold messaging, just try harder, just want it more. Literally have had a client tell me that she was told that by a Weight Watchers coach. And so who's left feeling like they just can't do it? Like they just don't care about themselves. Like their body just doesn't work for them. Us. Whereas if we do pay a little bit of attention to our hormonal health or metabolism, and we find that balance, you find what that looks like for you. In my coaching program, I called it, this is the first phase of the process. I call it restoring your metabolism so that we can reframe. You spend this time in this balance, and then it actually becomes easy to diet. Why? Because we brought your energy up. We brought your metabolism up. You're not tired anymore. Your body is actually using the energy that it's taking in and the energy that it has stored, working together, working with you, working for you in harmony as it's meant to be. So there's 3 P's, because I'm always asked, what matters the most? How can I do this the quickest? And I get it. You're tired, you're frustrated. And when I was at the heart of my issues with my Hashimoto's, I literally called my husband on, some of you guys may have heard my story. I've told it on my podcast, the Strong Mamas Metabolism, Mind and Macros podcast, about going to see my horses. I pulled over on the side of the road because I was absolutely exhausted. And I called him and I was in tears. And I said, this is what it feels like to be dying. I was so tired. I couldn't do the things that I love to do. I could barely get up, work. I didn't want to cook food for my family. I didn't want to do laundry. The house was a disaster because I was literally doing the bare minimum, energy save mode, right? I get it. I get it. You're tired of it. I was constantly fighting myself to go work out. I was a personal trainer. I'm a fitness coach. I'm a nutritionist. I know better. Was trying to work out to get energy. Has anybody ever heard that? Just work out more and you'll have more energy. Was trying to do all the things and my body didn't match the effort. I wasn't getting any better. I was getting worse. And so there's 3 P's. We have our physiology. That's what we're trying to change when we're working with things like PCOS, menopause, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's. Physiology is also what we're trying to change when we just have excess belly fat that we want to lose. You want to build muscle, you want to change your physical appearance. So we have that. But before we can change our physiology, we have to change our practices and our perceptions. So you have your result. We have our hormonal issues, whatever's going on for you, which, by the way, doesn't have to have any really specific special supplement protocol, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot to be done before you even get to that point. You want your physical result, you have our physiology, and we have our perceptions and our practices. So your perceptions are the way that we see the world, mindset. That's not a sexy conversation either. Hello, what does your mindset have to do with your hormones and your metabolism? Everything, and I'll get into it. Your perceptions, and then we have our practices. Practices look like our nutrition. The foods that we're eating, the quality of food, the quantity of food, both matter. It's not one or the other. It looks at calories and macros, both matter. It's not one or the other. It looks at how we're moving throughout the day. It looks at our movement, our sleep, our stress management. They all matter. All of those precede your physiology, the hormonal issues, the metabolic issues, and then your physical result is on the other side of that. So what matters the most? What matters the most is that we continue to build on what I spoke on yesterday and starting to become aware of where we actually are. How many times have you gone to lose weight, to change something, and you haven't even known where you were starting, right? Because you were told if you do X, Y, and Z, follow this plan, follow this blueprint, follow this diet, and you're going to get results. With no opportunity to pause and say, but where am I actually starting, right? Where's my hunger at? Where's my energy at? Where's my cravings at? My mood, my sleep, my stress, where are all these things sitting? So when we have the conversation of what matters most, this is where it gets a little sticky and not so fun. When we look for the lowest hanging fruit, which, by the way, is going to be what matters most for you because it's what's going to start to get you results first, you have to continue to assess your sleep, hunger, mood, energy, cravings, what your stress level is. And so if you started that yesterday, I want you to continue to move through that. And I want you to start to ask yourself, what is the lowest hanging fruit for me here? Looking at your nutrition, what is the lowest hanging fruit here? The interesting thing is that people come to me all the time and they're like, I don't know what it looks like to be balanced. I don't know what a balanced nutrition plan looks like. I'm here to help with that. But it starts with you figuring out what that looks like for you. I jokingly tell people that we're never going to get in an argument as to whether or not broccoli or a Snickers bar is going to be better for you. You have a lot of nutritional knowledge already. So start paying attention. Is your food mostly processed? Are you getting plenty of fruits and veggies? What does your protein look like? Are you only eating when hungry? That's a great place to start. Are you drinking water more than you're drinking calorie-laden beverages? It's another great place to start. You see, the thing that we've been conditioned to believe is that it needs to be big. But I'm going to give you a really big secret here. Remembering that your metabolism is measuring stress, whether the stress is the excess weight and the fact that you're unhappy in your body, or the stress is working with your nutrition in a way that's actually going to improve that, your body doesn't know any different. Again, I told you dieting is stressful. Dieting may be healthy for you. Cutting back on your portion sizes may be healthy for you. Shifting the way your plate is put together may be healthy for you. But if you do it all at once, it just becomes another stressor. And stress leads to overwhelm. Overwhelm leads to self-doubt. And without the right support, self-doubt leads to, I give up, this is too hard. And I'm not saying that this is easy. I'm not saying that this comes without effort, but you can minimize the effort. You can create ease in something that's challenging. Change is always going to be hard. By just improving one little thing at a time. I like to tell my clients 1% a day over 30 days is 30% improvement. That is massive. And it doesn't even have to be that much. You can do that same 1% for 7 days, for 14 days, for the whole 30 days. And that still is going to amount to a lot of change. So your action step today is to continue assessing what's actually going on for you. Figure out what actually is going to matter the most for you. What is going to be the dial mover for you? And then we can continue to move through the next several days and find out the best way for you to act upon that, for you to get the actual change that you're seeking. All right. Hope to see you back right here tomorrow for day 3.